America is now openly in a Cold War with China and Russia. Here is a list of indicators that would demonstrate American seriousness about tackling this challenge. Great power competition is old hat. Systemic rivals are already passé. The Second Cold War has started. China and Russia started it. It is past time to acknowledge this and start fighting back. The Chinese regime is an existential threat to the peace and prosperity of the United States and its allies, partners, and friends. Xi Jinping's appetites are global, from occupying democratic Taiwan to reshaping land borders with India, from redrawing maritime boundaries with its neighbors to imposing strategic dependencies on other nations and blackmailing them economically, all the while building both nuclear and conventional forces to intimidate any opposition. Xi also greenlit Vladimir Putin's aggressive war against Ukraine and forged a de facto alliance between China and Russia. Over the past decade, the two autocrats have held an astonishing 40 one-on-one meetings, a frequency surpassing their engagements with any other foreign leader by more than twofold. While the United States and other democratic countries were isolating Putin diplomatically, Xi paid a visit to Moscow in March of this year, concluding his trip with a remarkable statement: "Right now there are changes, the likes of which we haven't seen for 100 years, and we are the ones driven." The thought of living in a world dominated by China and Russia is intolerable to Americans and all freedom-loving peoples. Like any war, a Cold War is a contest of will between determined, committed adversaries. It is high time that the United States and its allies start fighting back. We thought long and hard for the list of indicators that would demonstrate America was serious about protecting its interest from the onslaught of aggressive forces that want to remake the world. Here is what we came up with. The Biden administration has never communicated clearly to the American people and the world what we are up against. When it comes to China, Biden's mantra is weak tea a decade out of date: compete where we must, but cooperate where we can. When it comes to Russia, Biden declares the United States will support Ukraine as long as it takes, without giving thought to explaining in detail what the plan to deal with Moscow as a threat in the long term. This makes our adversaries sound more like a nuisance than a threat, akin to saying that it's not our business what Hannibal Lecter does next do. That does not cut it. China has 1.4 billion people, the second largest economy in the world by various measurements, and a nuclear arsenal that will soon rival that of the United States and Russia. They already dominate many of the world's most critical supply chains. Beijing is a destabilizing influence on every continent. It is among the world's worst dictatorial regimes, abusers of human rights, and polluters. Russia is a nuclear peer, meddles in every theater where the United States has vital and important interests, and has violated every norm of responsible behavior. If we can't label th. presidency, millions of illegal aliens from all over the world are pouring into the United States through our southern border. In 2022 alone, the Customs and Border Patrol encountered almost 100 people on the terrorist watch list. Apprehensions of Chinese nationals, many of them men of military age, crossing into the United States illegally are up over 800% over the same period last fiscal year. Nobody checks their backgrounds and they are released into the United States on their own reconnaissance with a court date to be determined at some point in the future. Until America regains control. America is in a contest with brutal dictatorships. The Biden administration must stop describing its China policy as competition, confrontation, and cooperation. This language implies an equivalence between the United States, a democratic country that respects international law, and Xi's China, a brutal dictatorship that routinely violates key international norms, including through its support for Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The Biden administration should communicate more about America's freedom and achievements and less about its flaws. Some of the criticism of America's shortcomings undermines the legitimacy, cohesion, and confidence of the American polity. It simply must be stopped. America cannot prevail unless we demonstrate the will to defend America's interests. That's not done by being the world's policeman, babysitter, or any other metaphor. It is not about muscular actions like regime change or supposed nation building. Nor does the United States have any inherent responsibility to protect some illusory world order. It is simply this: we must have armed forces with the capacity to protect America's vital interests and be unafraid in our determination to safeguard them.